Welcome to the Call Center Crew Podcast, where we educate, empower, and help you execute in the everyday grind that is contact center. We bring you the expertise and success from industry professionals around the world. Listen in or watch weekly every Wednesday at callcentercrew.com. Welcome to Call Center Crew Podcast. This is your host, Landon Rich. I'm here joined with me by Ray Hicken from Carrier Sales here in South Jordan, Utah. Ray, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on the show. Look forward to this.
So Call Center Crew, it is a call center specific podcast bringing you the experiences and the successes from professionals around the world, looking to educate, empower, and then help you, the listener, execute inside of your work, inside of the role that you play in the contact center. So, Ray, before we jump in, please, if you're listening to the audio version, feel free to look us up, callcentercrew.com, for the video version. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube, all the social sites. So, Ray, tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, how did you get into the contact center space, and then your current role now inside of Carrier Sales.
Yeah, thank you. Again, it's great to be with you today, and looking forward to helping those in the marketplace be more effective in this area, and anything we can do to help would be our pleasure to do. So my experience began within Contact probably about 8 years ago. I was within Contact as a carrying a bag, selling the product for a short period of time, which gave me great insight into contact center software, how to sell it, how to evaluate an opportunity with a particular customer and their needs. Before I left in Contact, then I ended up as the director of channels for in Contact, channels related to the master agency or the referral or indirect sales, as you would call it in the marketplace. I was in Contact for a total of 5 years. Great experience, great company, and then I came over to Carrier Sales about 2.5 years ago, and I came over as the Vice President of Sales, and specifically to drive contact center sales in the master agency world. And over the last 2.5 years, we've been driving the contact center sale throughout the country with our master agents, as a master agency through our agent base. As Carrier Sales, just recently made an acquisition,
That's right.
There was a
merger between. Congratulations! I think that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could do a whole nother episode on what that means to the industry and how that's going to serve the contact center industry specifically. So that's great, though. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. I think the marriage between Carrier Sales and Telarus is a great story, and you'll hear more about it, and maybe we can talk about it another day. But I've been working with Carrier Sales and building out the contact center practice. We've seen a huge increase in revenue as a company because we have a sole focus on that practice. I think it helps that we have people there who understand it, like myself, and can sell it, and can help our agent base understand where to look for an opportunity and how to find one, and then how to source it to the right source to be able to provide the best supplier or provider in the space to meet their needs.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that, Ray. And so we mentioned contact center. Obviously, when people hear contact center, call center, there's two sides of it, right? 10 years ago, and even today, we see a lot of what we call premise-based systems, premise-based technology. So that's what I want to focus on today is, this whole shift to the cloud, contact center as a service, contact center in the cloud. And so, talk to us about what you've seen in your experience in the past years within Contact, and now on the sales side with your agents moving people from premise to the cloud.
Yeah, it's been an evolution. It's been an exciting change over the years. Back many, many years ago, even as far back as 8 or 9 years ago, when you had the conversation about cloud technology for a contact center, that was a foreign discussion. In fact, you had to spend a lot of time just selling people on the concept, and that has evolved over the years. And so cloud contact center has now become a mainstream accepted way in which to manage your company related to the call center. And so as we've watched the change, we've seen companies who have shifted from a premise world to a contact center world in the cloud. And that has a lot to do with the total cost of ownership of that. You talk about CapEx versus OpEx. There's either the upfront cost or you build it in a month-to-month pay-as-you-go model. And I think that has been, as the economy changed and as the world has changed, I think that's a more appealing approach for a company, especially when you think about 90% of the call centers across the United States are really about 150 seats or less. So they're smaller companies, mid-size, SMB, small to medium businesses out there. And for them, it's all about the cost of managing their business and growing their business. The prem world has been around for a long, long time, and will still remain to be around. And a lot of these large 10,000 plus seat call centers sit on a prem solution, and it probably fits that better for them. But we've seen the advent of the cloud contact center move further and further up the enterprise chain, and we're seeing that shift to the cloud version of a contact center versus a prem solution. So I think that helping our customers as well as our agents that we serve and work with, our partners, helping them see that there is an opportunity to shift from the premise world to the cloud world for a lot of different reasons. It gives you greater flexibility. It's besides the cost savings, it gives you more visibility of what's happening in your call center. It gives you a unified reporting system and routing system. When you talk about companies that have multiple call centers around the country and you're trying to have a visibility on how that call center is operating from one location, that's a lot easier to do in a cloud solution.
Right. You mentioned, so we talked about covered the CapEx, moving over to the OpEx model. The flexibility, I think, is the biggest thing for me. Talking about deploying, let's just say even 100 seats or, at scale, 1,000 seats of contact center on a premise-based system. The amount of work not only the amount of money, but the amount of work that goes into that in terms of equipment, right? Inside of for 1,000 seats, hardware, different things that go into that. It's a lot, right? It's a lot, and you lose that flexibility.
Yeah.
I'd like to share an experience that. So Focus Service is a BPO out of northern Utah. So they have a couple locations down in Central America, and the perfect example of them being on the cloud allowed them to basically take the best out of a natural disaster that happened, right? So the story, the experience that they had is one of their call centers was in a strip mall with a few other different businesses, restaurants, a Walmart. Well, there was a fire that happened in one of the kitchens of the restaurants, and it caught the entire complex on fire. All of Walmart there in Central America, or in El Salvador, went up in flames, and it displaced about 350 seats of Focus Services call center. So talking about premise-based equipment, if their servers were on site, if all their equipment is on site, they're done, right? All of that money, all that investment is up in smoke, and then the turnaround to try and spin up another center with the same premise-based equipment, the same system, and for 350 seats, and we're talking months, right, to be able to do that. Right. So the experience that Focus had, Focus El Salvador had, was 350 agents were displaced, and 3 days later, because they were on the cloud, because of the flexibility, they were able to rent seats out of other centers that were vacant. They purchased and moved computers from other centers into this site, and because they were on a cloud contact center, they were able to bring up the soft phone right from the internet. They were able to have all of the equipment and calls routed right to their computers 3 days later. Right. Now, they weren't back up to full capacity at 350 seats in 3 days, but at least their customers' calls were being answered in some fashion rather than just being set to an IVR. Right. So I think that's a perfect example of being flexible with a cloud solution.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. A couple other examples that I would share with you. The scalability of it is really powerful, besides that flexibility. So, for example, in Contact as one of our providers that we work with, and they will share examples of companies that, it's seasonable in the way they do business. The company that they're working with, for example, a flower company that sells 1-800 flowers, they have a couple hundred agents year round, but at the beginning of Valentine's Day through Mother's Day, they ramp up to a couple thousand agents, and they have to be able to have that flexibility to do that quickly and do it cost effectively.
Right.
If you're a premise-based solution and you need 2,000 agents at any time during the year, then you have to be prepared to pay for 2,000 agents all throughout the year. In this model, you can scale. A really small call center can scale up to 2,000, and for 3 or 4 months pay for that amount of cost of managing 2,000 agents, and then scale it back down. And so there's a huge cost savings. And I think where the cloud also, to your point, really works over a prem solution. When you have, and most of these cloud contact center providers have huge spikes in interest in selling or buying their product when there's a natural disaster or there's some kind of a major problem that happens. These companies, they're unable to get their agents into an office, and they're not able to take up phone calls and get it back to business. But if they're on a cloud solution, if they have a cell phone, they can call in and begin taking calls almost immediately, and not disrupt the business practice of a company, which could be huge, depending upon what it is that their product and services that they're offering. And even those companies, or a company like a 411, for people needing information during a disaster, that's critical that you have that kind of flexibility to be able to scale up and be able to take those calls immediately when that disaster happens. You can't get that on a prem solution. If you're on a prem solution and you have a big business and a company, they're doing some work for another building across the street, and there's a pipe out there, and someone goes and cuts that pipe to that business, you're down.
Yeah. There's
no disaster recovery. There's no backup unless they have a prem solution that's on another site close by. With a cloud solution, that problem is solved. The natural disaster recovery of a cloud solution is built in because those servers are sitting in sites like in Los Angeles or Dallas or New York or Atlanta, and they're having multiple sites where the same data is being stored. So if even one site goes down, you'll still be able to carry that information over to the other site and keep maintaining a business practice. That is the power of the cloud.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I think that's spot on. So one last thing I want to kind of cover is, we're talking about cloud, moving from prem to cloud. That's not a knock on obviously the foundation that these corporations, these businesses that have laid for the contact center. That, like you said, still and may always be and have a premise solution. But there's been a lot over the past, I would say 18 to 24 months, where we've seen a lot of acquisitions, right? A few of the largest that we've seen, NICE acquiring InContact, Genesis acquiring Interactive Intelligence, the most recent Cisco acquiring BroadSoft, right? These are primarily premise-based technology corporations buying these cloud software, these cloud technology businesses. So I think it just goes to show that this is the way that the technology is moving. There was a statistic that I read about the cloud, specifically to contact center, is right now about only 10% of all of contact center is in the cloud, right? And so that over the next 5-10 years, like you said, there's still going to be a few of these larger, maybe some government accounts, 40, 50,000 seats that may remain on a premise-based system. But the vast majority, there's a lot of shift moving over to the cloud.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's a $15 billion industry, and only 13% of that is tapped in the cloud. So there's huge upside there for people who want to get into the cloud technology. And I think that, as you described, these acquisitions are examples of a couple of things. One, that it's shifting to the cloud. Two, that some of these prem companies have a hard time moving to the cloud on their own. Mm-hmm. It's hard. The example I share is if you've been building ocean liners all your life and you decide you're going to start building airplanes, That shift is not that easy. It's a totally different way about going about your business and doing your business. So companies that have built their cloud technology purely in the cloud from the very beginning, legacy that way, make that transition or make that growth switch a lot easier than a prem company who really has to go out and figure out what to do. And so some of them have tried and they've struggled with that. But as you can see, if they're not making it that way, they're going to go make it an acquisition. Yeah. And that's exactly what all these acquisitions have been. NICE wanted to get into the cloud. They knew Incontact could do that for them because they were experts in that. And so they sought that relationship out. Interactive Intelligence and Genesis wanted them because of what their cloud practice was that they didn't have, and they wanted to be able to access that or get more out of that. And then this recent acquisition of BroadSoft, they were purchased by Cisco because Cisco for a long time has tried to move to the cloud and have done it to varying degrees of success. But clearly they wanted to have the BroadSoft cloud, and they wanted to have the BroadSoft contact center platform, which used to be called Transera, as their backbone. So you can see there's that shift. If we can't beat them, I've got to join them some way.
Right.
And so that's through acquisition. And I think that's what we're seeing. And we'll continue to see that transition across lots of different areas. In the areas of security, for example, you're seeing a lot of shift to doing cloud solutions to solve those security problems for a company.
Yep, exactly. Well, Ray, just to wrap up here, so obviously Carrier Sales has many technology, a lot of different technology under your umbrella. Share with us, the portfolio of Carrier Sales. What is cloud? What is there out there for, our listeners who may be looking to move to the cloud? What contact center solutions in the cloud does Carrier Sales hold, and what is out there for them in terms of, what are the companies and maybe some of the core competencies that they have?
Yeah, thank you. When I came over to Carrier Sales, I wanted to build out what I call an ecosystem around cloud contact center. I described it as the hub and the spoke. The hub being the core platform, the ACD, the IVR, and then the spoke of everything else that fits into a contact center. A contact center is just not the ACD and the IVR. There's many parts to a call center and a contact center, whether that's a CRM, or it's performance management, or if it's WFM, or if it's even hosted PBX, where you have to have the voice piece of it. So we have built a portfolio around that. So we have the hub and the spoke, and we have all pieces of a contact center that you or our partners would be able to access to sell. We have the leaders in, if you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant that came out, we have relationships with every one of them, not only the leaders, but those who are the visionary and those who are the challengers. Every single one of them. Incontact, Genesis, Five9, 8x8, Serenova, TalkDesk, all these providers, BroadSoft, we have the relationship with these companies, which gives us a ability to meet all of their contact center needs. And each of these companies, although they can all do the same thing, they have unique abilities to service the customer for different skill sets or different feature functionality they need. And so we have them in our portfolio for that very reason. And on top of that, like I said, the ecosystem is we have several CRM providers out there so that they can access the cloud contact center and make that in connection with the CRM. Companies like Ivenix and Microsoft Dynamics that gives us the Microsoft platform. We also have a company called Spice CSM, and they have integrator and a CRM solution as well. Performance management, Clearview, which is a great company that provides that ability for a contact center to be able to evaluate the agent's experience and provide gamification and ways to improve their performance by aggregating all that information for a call center, which increases the agent base staying active, engaged, and keeps helping with the attrition problem that happens in a call center. Whereas workforce management, our relationship with companies like Monet, even Incontact, Verint, and NICE, we have access to those as well. We have several hosted PBX providers in the UC space that we have, and the leaders in that space as well. The Ring Centrals of the world, the Vonages of the world, the Monet, Momentum, and Fuse, and all the other leaders in this space that we have a relationship with. And then we have the ability to help them with other things that they may have for the call center that they're accessing or trying to find information for, as well as there's the telecommunications piece, the telco, the network services that that a call center would need that we don't usually talk about, but because of our background as a master agency, where most of the carriers like an CenturyLink or an AT&T or a Verizon, we have relationships with these carriers that we can be the carrier leg as well and provide the connectivity for that as well. So there's a lot of pieces that we can provide, and I think we're a place that people can come to one stop to get all those sources and get the expertise to help them to make the right decision for their customer.
Excellent. Well, Ray, carriersales.com, I believe, is the right place to, if anybody wants to learn more about carrier sales, about Ray and his team, and obviously all the other solutions that we talked about today. Carriersales.com. Ray, anything else that you'd like to share? We appreciate you coming on the show. And
no, we're carriersales.com, soon to be Telarus. And the marriage of those two companies will make a great presence in the marketplace. And our focus on the contact center and cloud contact center will be as robust or more robust with this new partnership with Telarus, and we're excited about that new partnership.
Excellent. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in today. You can find us, callcentercrew.com, as well as on all the other social sites. Please give us a positive review, 5-star, and give us a share so everybody else in the telco world can hear what we have to say. We're going to be releasing new episodes every Wednesday. We look forward to hearing your guys' feedback. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.